Okay, so in this video we're going to talk about these poor countries and how they need so much help from us and what aid we give them. Now, most people assume that aid is given in the form of money, but it's not. You can give medical aid. So we'll have a look through a few different aid, I suppose, programs that we give to the poor regions. So rich countries give aid to poor countries. We've been doing it with years. Even in Ireland, when we've gone through recessions, and we will go through this one, we will still continue to give money to poor countries because it's good to give to people in time of need. You know, however bad we think we have it, they have it a lot worse. However, disagreement does exist regarding the effectiveness of aid programs. Like, not all aid programs that people give are right. They're not honest. They're not there to benefit the poor people. So it's good that you're made aware of it. I suppose that is a good sign in front of you there. Developing countries need trade, not aid. We need to get rid of the tariff barriers like the coffee trade are seeing, and stop just supplying them with loads of cash or stuff. You know, we need to help them to be part of the global trading economy, rather than just trying to help them to pay off their debts. So for several decades, wealthy countries have given aid to poorer countries. We've been doing it for a long time. And it's a good thing that we're doing. You know, you can see bags in the picture there, US aid, okay? I suppose the donor country, you just do need to be aware of these terms. A donor country is a country that gives aid. Think if you donate something, you're giving it. So donor country is a country that gives aid. So that picture of that map there shows you the top 10 countries for donors of foreign aid. So France, the UK, Norway, Sweden, Germany, Australia, USA, Canada, they're all huge donators of aid. So that's really good. That's positive. It's doing a good thing for poor countries. So the USA would be the biggest donators of aid. Aid can be given in many different forms. So cash is an obvious one. So we just give them money that helps them to pay for schools. It helps them to set up water filters, irrigation schemes, maybe just pay their debts. So money is given to build roads, build schools, like I said, build hospitals. It's given to install water filtering systems. We can also give, I suppose, skills. We don't just have to give money to countries, we can give them skills. So we can send over skilled people such as doctors, nurses, could be builders even, from our rich countries, and they go over and they work for a period of time, for a number of months, on projects in the south, you know. Skilled teachers are sent abroad. And the other type of aid that we can give is goods. So we often give aid in the form of goods such as food. It could be clothes even, you know, so it could be hospital, medical equipment. Unfortunately, sometimes aid is given in the form of weapons, but that's another story. So there's many different types of aid that we can give. So I suppose the three main types of aid that we give is money, we give skills, and we can give goods to them. Now you might be sitting there thinking, oh, I think that the goods are the best. Another person might think, I think the skills are the best because we can help them out. Everyone has their own opinion. So very quickly, there's loads of different aid programs happening across the world, and some you'll like and some you'll totally disagree with. The first aid program is called Bilateral Aid, okay? And that's aid donated by the government of one country to the government of another country. In simple terms, bilateral aid is aid given from a government of a rich country to a government of a poor country. So we do that in Ireland. The Irish government donate aid to the government of Ethiopia. The only problem with this is, can you be certain that the government of that poor country give the money or the aid to their people? We don't know. You can only trust them. A lot of the time they don't. So we give bilateral aid to Ethiopia. Another type of aid is multilateral aid. That's aid that's donated by wealthy countries to an aid agency like the United Nations. Now, you've all heard of the United Nations. They're a very good organisation. They're genuine. If they get stuff and they give it to poor people, they make sure that the poor people get it. So they give the aid and distribute the aid to those in need. So you might be already sitting there thinking, I prefer the multilateral aid now over the bilateral aid. So bilateral aid is aid given from the government of one country to the government of another country. Like I said, the government of that country could be corrupt. You don't know if it's actually given the aid to their people. Multilateral aid is when the government of the rich country donates the aid to the United Nations or other charity agencies. They donate it then to the people in need. Okay, so they distribute the aid. Now, tied aid is not good. This is aid given by a donor country, so us, we'll say Ireland, to a poor country. However, this aid comes with conditions attached that benefit the donor country. So for example, you give money from Ireland, say Ireland gives money to Ethiopia, but we give the money to them with conditions attached. And we tell them that the condition is you can take the 3 million, but you have to buy food off of us. So with that money, we know you need it to buy food, but you must buy it off of the Irish people. So they're stuck then with buying the money off, or buying the food off of you. So it's only benefiting you in the long run, you know, so that's not very fair either. So they're stuck and tied down to those conditions. Like a very good picture there, it says Australian overseas aid. It's the boomerang approach. They're throwing the aid to you, but the money is just coming straight back to them. So tied aid is actually quite popular amongst a lot of countries. United States, what a surprise. 93% out of United States. Spain, surprisingly enough. Australia, and then it gets less and less. No tied aid comes out of Ireland, so that's good. I would hope so. Okay. Voluntary aid is aid given by agencies such as Goal, Concern, Hope, etc. So they volunteer abroad. They give their aid and their help voluntary. They don't look for anything for it. They do depend on donations from the public. So like you've seen people in Ireland collecting money for Goal. We had the Concern, they do fasts, they collect the Chokra boxes, the Hope Foundation that we know from the school, they go over to Calcutta in India, don't they? So voluntary aid is aid given by aid agencies, and they distribute the aid to the poor people. So there's a picture of Goal helping people abroad, Hope Foundation, Concern, you can see a picture there of aid arriving to the countries. So that's very, very good. They're such good people, volunteering their time, going over to horrific conditions, harsh climates, corrupt governments, trying to get past them, wars happening perhaps. So like these voluntary agencies are doing serious work. These voluntary agencies are also called NGOs. They're non-governmental agencies, organisations. They have nothing to do with the government, okay? So they are doing it off their own back. They depend on donations from the public. When they get donations, they bring it over themselves to the poor people, okay? So the Red Cross, the Irish Red Cross would be another example as well. Bernardus for children's charities, Chokra worldwide. There's just so many of them. Gorta, Oxfam. Another type of aid is emergency aid. This is aid that's given in times of a natural disaster, in times of an emergency crisis. So we're talking tsunamis, earthquakes, floodings. That's aid that needs to get to them fast. So like you literally need to get to them either the money or the food or whatever it is in a couple of days, okay, to stop those people from dying of starvation. So you're distributing emergency aid to them. Now that can be chaotic because everyone's arriving at the trucks and they all want to get it. So it can, I don't know how those people do it. Most of the aid in the world, sadly, is going to the poor countries in the south. So it's going to the southern hemisphere because South America and Africa and parts of Asia, they're just the poorest of the regions in the world. What are the advantages of aid? Actually, before I get to that now, I'll just do a quick summary. Wouldn't that be a good idea? Of the different types of aid that we just looked at. So I'll just flick through the different slides. 1 second now. There's bilateral aid, aid that's donated from the government of one country to the government of another country. So Ireland donates to Ethiopia. The second type of aid that we looked at was multilateral aid. That's aid donated by the government of one country to an aid agency like the United Nations. Okay, they definitely get it to the poor people. Tied aid is aid given to a country with conditions attached. So they have to, for example, spend the money back in your country. So that's not good. Voluntary aid is aid that's given by voluntary organisations such as Goal and Chokra. So they volunteer. They're NGOs, non-governmental organisations, nothing to do with the government. Emergency aid then is aid that's given in times of an emergency, times of crisis such as a tsunami, earthquake, volcano perhaps erupting. Okay, very, very quickly we'll look at the advantages of aid. And there are disadvantages as well, of course. So number one, anyway, it saves lives. Doesn't it save life during an emergency? That's why we have emergency aid. Refugees fleeing from war, famine, natural disasters, we give them clothing, we feed them, we give them shelter, we set up camps for them. So like if we're saving lives, then that's a huge advantage of aid. Aid contributes to people's quality of life. If we're sending over money from Ireland to Ethiopia and they can use that money to bore a well and to give water to the people to drink, isn't that absolutely fantastic? So it's improving their standard of living, their quality of life. That money is used to bore a well, to filter. We even send over filters for the drinking water. Those little children in the picture are drinking out of like filtered straws. That's absolutely brilliant. It means they won't get a sick stomach. They won't die of stomach diseases. Aid that's sent over saves their lives by, we establish blood banks. I mean, they need them over there as well. We forget about that. Aid targets certain groups, and that can be really helpful. Like women, they set up certain women's groups to train them in sewing skills so that they can make clothes. And if we give them the skill of sewing and they can make their own clothes, they can sell them in the local market and make money. So that's improving their standard of living as well. This gives women independence. We can teach them how to use a laptop, you know. We could donate the laptops over to them. If they can sell at the market, they can make money. That's really, really positive. Some aid creates local employment. So if we send money over from Ireland to Ethiopia to build a school, well then they're going to hopefully employ local builders. If they have them, if they don't, we'll send over builders, send over our skills. So those local builders are paid by the aid agencies like Trócaire and Concern to build schools and clinics there. So that's developing their skills even further. Those fellas are making money. Aid can teach people self-reliance. Farmers over there are taught techniques such as crop rotation. So we're sending over people to educate them. Now it's probably the non-governmental organisations, the voluntary agencies that are going over to educate them. But they educate the farmers on crop rotation, something they would never have dreamt of doing. Fertiliser, how to spray it, when to spray it, what to buy. Food storage. In such hot countries like that, they need to learn how to store food so it lasts longer, so it's not getting spoilt and not going off, and they can still make money on it. The farmers can then provide for their families, and any extra food that they grow, they can sell it on the market, making more money. Maybe they can send their children to schools then. That's really, really positive. Now, there are huge disadvantages to aid, as you can realise. They really can create a dependent mentality. I mean, they expect it to arrive. You know, it's like if you keep dropping off bags of messages to my house, I expect it to be there every week, and I'm going to be shocked the day that you don't drop it off. So like after this coronavirus and people don't have the money to donate to the aid agencies, and maybe those aid agencies can't arrive over there because of, you know, social distancing and fears of the spread of the virus with no air travel going on. What's happening to these people when they're not getting the aid? So that's dangerous when they develop a dependency on you. So they can become over-dependent on aid. Many developing countries are led by corrupt politicians. So when we're sending over aid like bilateral aid, can we be sure that they're actually getting it? If it's money, a lot of these these corrupt leaders are stealing the aid, and they're only giving some of it to their people. So Robert Mugabe was the dictator in Zimbabwe for years, and he just lived the life of royalty and luxury, and just spent all the money on himself and his family, and heard like his people were living in severe poverty. 50% of the top 10 most corrupt nations in 2014 were African countries. Like, the corruption is dreadful there. What other disadvantage have we? Tide aid, we've spoken about that. It only benefits the donor country. It doesn't benefit the country that's in need at all. Another huge disadvantage of aid is it misses its target, and the target of aid should be the poorest people. The poorest of the poorest people in Africa are in unreachable places, in very, very remote rural areas that maybe people can't get the aid into. Maybe there's no roads getting into them, so maybe we're just not reaching the people in real need. And dreadfully, some aid is just not appropriate at all. So we will send machinery, we will send trucks to parts of Ethiopia that have no roads, no diesel filling stations. You know what? It's no good to them. I know we mean well, but some aid is just not appropriate. Okay, like this picture says, "Madame, where's the electricity?" We donate a load of TVs. Like she says, there is no electricity. The nearest well is a 20 kilometers walk. We mean well, but if they can't use it, if they've no Wi-Fi to use it, it's no good to them. Okay, so I suppose these aid programs, you know, there's disadvantages and there's advantages. After almost 60 years of aid, there are still 925 million people going to bed hungry every night. So how effective are they? Are they even working? There's plenty of food in the world. The problem is that the people cannot afford it, you know. So we have to kind of look at these aid programs and think, is there anything we can do to make them better? So aid has not eliminated poverty or hunger, and it does not eliminate poverty or hunger. So we need to look at ways to solve this problem, you know. So I'm going to look at Irish aid programs with you, and